again, Reg Techies. Welcome to the only podcast that helps recruiters and employers connect with more candidates through technology-inspired conversations. Attracting talent through technology is changing rapidly, and that's why the show exists. Today's episode is a vendor edition. Podcast is sponsored by friends at HR Lancers, the Upwork for HR. If your company is looking for recruiting or HR help, head over to hrlancers.com, post a job or project, or even browse available freelancers looking for temporary and contract work right now. It's free and easy, hrlancers.com. All right. Hey, a quick shout out before we get started to one of my listeners who left a nice review on iTunes recently. Someone named Arlie K writes, if you're waiting for a sign to subscribe, here it is. You got to subscribe. Chris consistently offers compelling conversations that expertly identify and break down the latest innovations in recruiting technology. This listener highly recommends. So, Arlie, thank you very much for the review. And most importantly, thanks for listening. That's why I do this show, for people like you. So keep up the downloads there and tell your friends too. All right. So diversity technology platforms are starting to spring up and get a lot of funding lately. The latest entrant into this market is Canvas, formerly known as Jumpstart. They recently raised a $20 million funding round, and we'll get into that with our guests. I also want to mention, too, that the second annual Diversity Technology Expo will be held October 7th. It's a virtual event. Still working on the agenda and the details. But registration is open now if you want to go sign up. It's diversitytechexpo.com, or just find us on the Crowdcast channel as well. So joining me now from Mexico, of all places, is the CEO of Canvas, Ben Herman. Hey, Ben, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris. Excited to be here.
Excellent. Look forward to getting into it with you and finding out more about Canvas. I want to get into the rebranding piece of the story, but first of all, tell everybody what Canvas is, if you could.
Yeah, for sure. Canvas was originally Jumpstart, as you mentioned. We started in building a platform that helped college students find internships and new grad opportunities with tech and finance companies. With our success that we had over the last 3 years, we had a lot of demand to help experienced recruiting teams have the same success. And over the last 6 months, we've been working on a big rebrand, whilst changing our name, changing, our mission, our vision, our values, and everything else that goes with it to create what is a new category, which is diversity recruiting platform, DRP. And we believe, just like everyone needs a CRM to have relationships with candidates, they also need a DRP to engage and hire more diverse talent. And so the platform ultimately helps them do that through a suite of tools. And we keep diversity top of mind throughout the platform.
Going back to the origins of the business, Ben, did you pivot at some point into what you are now? To be back to the early days, if you could.
Yeah, it's a great question. We didn't pivot. We did stumble across what was the solution that we offer today. And that started by helping companies who received sheer amounts of inbound applicants that they otherwise ignored. And we kind of asked many questions around that to be like, but these people have put their hand up to say they're interested and you don't want to give them an opportunity. And they just said, we simply can't get through them. And we have no way to identify if they match or if they're relevant. And instead, we want to proactively work with different organizations and source more relevant, more diverse talent. And so we said, what about if we could help you to do that through our platform? And so we did this in a beta version with Lyft, the transportation company, and we had great success. And so we built the relevant integrations, the relevant product to enable this to happen. What is now more automatically.
Okay. Let's get into the rebrand a bit. So you got canvas.com is your new domain name.
Yes.
Was it a challenge getting that domain name, first of all?
I think any dictionary.com is a challenge, period. I've been a geek of domains since I was about 21 years of age, should I say. And so I have a lot of great contacts who also, have been in that industry for a very long time. And lo and behold, one of, my friends who I was introduced to, a year or two ago, held this domain with many others, and we were able to strike a great deal.
Yeah. Is the purchase price known publicly? I don't know if it's something you could tell us.
Sorry, say that question again.
Was the purchase price of the domain public at all, or
it wasn't?
It wasn't. Okay. Could you say it was a six-figure purchase?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Well, first of all, great job on getting that domain name. I think a lot of startups in the space come up with these really strange sounding domains trying to go to market. And I think it's just a domain like that just brings credibility instantly to any business. Just speak to that point if you could for a second.
Yeah, that was our goal. So I appreciate the kind words. Trust is probably one of the most important things in the industry that we operate, right? People's careers are very important, not just to them, but also to us. And we don't believe that our name and domain reflected our vision and our brand awareness and trust that we had built. And so that was really the core component of this, was how do we build trust? How do we have a name and a brand that enables us to build something as big as our vision? And so that was really the core component behind it.
Yeah. By the way, is there any like a piece of advice you could offer other startups in terms of buying a domain like that? Is there something you could tell them to help secure something like that, like a domain like that?
Yeah, network with the people who are in and around, the .com boom from the 90s. It's really helpful. But more than that is, I think when you start a company, the best advice that you could get is spend more time on the brand, the name, the mission, the vision. I think that stuff is actually like more important than the idea itself.
Yeah. When you were coming up with the name Canvas, were you aware of the previous Canvas that was in HR tech?
Yes.
Okay.
We were. And I assume you mean the Canvas
Canvas texting platform that
JobVite. Yeah, that was purchased by JobVite. Yeah, it was gocanvas.io was the domain. We were. And there was also another Canvas International that wasn't doing business. That was also in recruiting software.
Yeah.
So those were the two that really came to mind from our research. That platform is a tech SaaS HR software, and what we do is very, very different. And with them being purchased by JobVite, we didn't really see any kind of overlap.
Right. So can you explain the product more and the user experience? What are you buying here? How do the recruiters use it? Get into the details here if you could.
Yeah, of course. We're a two-sided marketplace. So we have two customers. On one side, it's candidates, who are students, as well as people with up to, 20 years of experience. So it's open to all candidates who really are interested in finding a job in tech or finance. And then on the other side of the marketplace, it's companies. And the general user of a company could be a recruiter, a coordinator, a hiring manager, a D&I leader, an exec, etc. It really depends on what involvement they have in recruiting. And the solution that we provide to both sides of that marketplace is really about leveling the playing field and creating accessibility for both companies and candidates. And so when you think about the other solutions out there, it's more about how do you make the job more efficient for recruiters to reach out to talent, whether that's on LinkedIn or manage talent like through like the ATS or CRMs. But having spent 10 years in recruiting myself prior to starting this company, I feel like the problem is much deeper than that. And the problem comes more from, there's this form of a war of talent where companies are competing for people and ultimately trying to hire them. And largely that's built on the basis of there's not enough talent. But I believe if talent was more accessible to companies, that war of talent wouldn't exist. And I think for far too long, it's been this competition or war. And I don't think that people are a commodity that should be in a war. Instead, I think it's about companies coming together to complete the diversity data gaps that exist, and giving more accessibility to those companies. And so however we can help candidates get information, learn about processes, interviews, companies through other candidates' experiences, that happens. And then on the company side, talent isn't relevant for all companies. They reject a lot. And however we can help like recycle or reflow that talent to other companies, to give them more opportunity is what we focus on. So it's really about accessibility.
So an employer could go on there and source candidates today based on different filters. Is that part of it?
Yeah. So in terms of the features, if we're going into that,
Yeah.
we really offer 3 core components, which is about engaging, which is managing your events and talent communities in our platform. Then it's sourcing, and that's sourcing through your inbound applicants, like automatically with our technology, or accessing the shared talent pool, which is people that have applied everywhere else outside of your company. And that's, applying masses array of filters, saving searches, etc. And then the ability to understand, and to understand is really our, analytics that are end to end, probably the most comprehensive, like in the industry. Thinking more like the Tableau of data.
Okay. Can you post jobs as well?
Yeah, you can post jobs, but we're not really a job board. We're more about like managing the people who come to that job and automating that process.
Gotcha. Give us a sense of the pricing model here, if you could.
Yeah, it's an annual subscription that companies pay, and it's based off of 2 things. One is what do you want access to, and how many seats do you want to buy? So the more seats, the better the price per seat. And depending on what you want access to, from the engage, the source, and the understand part, it is dependent on the price.
Give me a success story or two, Ben. What comes to mind when you think about how successful your clients are on the platform?
Yeah, it's about the ability to ultimately hire underrepresented groups. That's really what we care about. But that comes in many different ways through many different channels. That's events, communities, sourcing, inbound, etc. We really want to help them to understand the full kind of array of talent where they come from, regardless.
Yep. Okay. So you got new funding round, but where's the company headquartered, by the way? Is it virtual, or do you have
Yeah, we're a remote first company. People all around the country, but predominantly we started in LA, and then we moved to San Francisco. So a large percentage of the firm are in San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Gotcha. So what are your plans for the new funding round? Are you gonna be hiring a lot, expanding your marketing efforts? What's the plan there?
Yeah, we've been hiring a lot, and we'll continue to be hiring. So any people looking to join a very mission-driven company, please check us out, and please apply. We really take applicants very seriously. But in addition to that, it's really about scaling our efforts, from go to market, which encompasses marketing, sales, etc. And building to be compatible to every single ATS that's available to a company, and ultimately thinking about new markets that we'll explore as well next year.
Yeah. So you do offer integrations between different ATSs for your clients?
Yeah, we have a very interesting system that's a universal ATS. So if you imagine like a big giant ATS that can connect to every other ATS, and that really is state of the art like technology that we've built.
Yeah. Do you use your own ATS essentially to do your own hiring, or do you use an external provider?
We use an external provider.
Want to say the name?
Yeah, we actually use both Greenhouse and Lever for different reasons.
Both. Okay. Why?
Yeah.
Why both?
Because we like to understand the workflows, and be able to continuously learn and understand, how the ATSs operate, as we, want to partner with as many ATSs. We partner with Workday, JobVite, etc. And in our partnerships is to be able to build, the best version of managing your applicants within your ATS. And so it's very, very important for us to understand how they work and how we can continuously improve that user experience for our customers.
Very good. Is there another diversity technology tool or site that you want to give a shout out to in terms of something that you think is pretty cool that helps help companies hire as well?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate what everyone's doing. To be honest with you, Chris, I don't really look at, other firms as competitors, because it's more about us, realizing our missions together. And I think they're all different in different ways. And I really appreciate the work, that Techaria does, Afrotech does, Grace Hopper does. We partner with all of those. But in addition to that, I also appreciate, what all of the other SaaS tools do in HR. And I think they all have, great value that they bring to companies for different reasons.
Yeah, very cool. You guys gonna be headed to HR Tech at all this year in Vegas?
I believe there's a couple of the team going. Yes.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
Yes.
Awesome. We appreciate your time today, Ben. Last question for you. Tips for diversity recruiting. Give me one or two tips there for employers out there to take away with in terms of just making their workforces more diverse.
Yeah, that's a big question to save to the end, but I think it's really about holding both the recruiters and the leaders accountable, right? I think for far too long, it's been like a brand promise or lip service. And I think we're now entering into diversity 2.0. And where like diversity 1.0 was like, we're spending all this money to share what we're doing with these different nonprofits and different conferences, and, words and commitments. I think it's now about, we want to see it in your actions, right? And so I think that you can only hold people accountable if you understand the data. And that's what we're really, really focused on. And so I think, push back on your leaders, ask to see it in the data, and push back on the ICs and ask them to look at their data, right? I think recruiters have a lot of power. They're able to reach out to, all candidates who went to these 5 schools that they prefer, and worked at these 2 companies that they prefer. And no one can actually see that or pull them up on that. And I think, it really starts with us standing together, and not standing apart.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your time today, Ben, and thanks for the tips there on diversity recruiting. Ben Herman, CEO of Canvas.com. Thanks again for joining us today here in the show.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the RegTech Podcast. Be sure to follow us on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, via the @RegTech Media handle. See every podcast, video, blog we publish. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. And remember, always be recruiting. See you next time.